resting in God, resting in truth, resting in love. This seems to be one of the most difficult teachings of the healing of the little self. To give the mind to God is to rest. To give your day to God is to rest. But resting is not about the body. The body may follow, but resting is I don't know, and giving the mind to the divine. Trusting as you rest in God that all help will be illuminated and yours in that resting place. There is a conflict within that resting, not the actual resting, but there is a conflict that the mind brings of the doer that has already an established criteria. Some of it unconscious, but some of it very conscious. It's mind-boggling to realize how upside down the mind is and how filled with junk it is. Now, nobody wants to think of their mind being filled with junk. So the ego convinces that everything that the mind thinks on its own is brilliant. Just really brilliant. And then it comes out in words too. So the thought of brilliance is being spouted through words. Not realizing that even though the ego is trying to convince that the words are brilliant, the mind is brilliant, but actually that most of what is coming from the mind is filled with fear of not having a successful day, or saying things that will be admired or received as important. It's rather like going to a horse race, betting on yourself, and then watching yourself race with all the other horses that are trying to get across the finish line. The spiritual journey is one of contemplation, of learning honesty, which the ego knows nothing about. So it is a learning, and it is a journey to open to what honesty really is. In the ego world, the idea of honesty is, I honestly like this, or I honestly don't like this, or I honestly know what somebody else is experiencing, and I will comment on it because I'm so honest and I know all about it. But this isn't honesty. The honesty is, I don't know. I don't know how to look on what somebody else is walking through. I don't know how to look on the world and have clarity without asking for that clarity. And remembering always that honesty is consistency begins to hold honesty in a new way. To question yourself is almost, and is to the ego, blasphemy. It's an insult in the ego's mind to question the validity of your own thoughts. The ego says, hey, I've made it this far. I've got I know things. I know how to do things. I know what things mean. I know how to converse. I know how to compare. I know what, something means for somebody and what it doesn't mean for somebody. And most beloveds look at themselves as observers when it's actually judgment. But observing is a nice term for it. There is a place that observing is necessary to be embraced. But that place of observing has no commentary, has no story that goes with it. It's the observing so that the Holy Spirit can convey to you what it is that you are observing. In order for it to be of help. It will be of help if the Holy Spirit can take your observations and turn it into holy vision, because that's what you want. But there's no room for the observation or for the holy vision when the mind is determined that it knows and it is commenting on whatever it is that it believes that it knows. There's an instant payoff that the ego supplies, that you made a connection between two situations and made them connect somehow. But how would you know? How would anybody know what they're for, what they mean? It's a deep, loving place that steps into that quiet yes of show me what it is that is most helpful to be aware of. And how brilliant a place it is to be in the not knowing and be available to serve another beloved or the beloved that is receiving. In the not knowing, then the vision can actually open to a deeper purpose for every beloved, that you could actually be of service by allowing the voice of God to help you see how to be of that service. What the ego likes to do is to take every situation and apply it to past situations and come up with a conclusion based on what you already know. But there's no real helpfulness there because you're just regurgitating the past. And love is asking for you to be open to the inspiration that God is wanting to offer. The quiet place that serves humanity is with every beloved. Don't be afraid of the quiet. The quiet has within it direction, truth, love, and healing. Don't be afraid of the quiet that doesn't have a response when something is shown or presented, because the response doesn't come that quickly. Spirit is calling to wait and listen for a while to be sure of what is most helpful. It's a beautiful place of letting it brew whatever it is that God wants to offer, letting it percolate within until it's cooked, and then it can be offered. Every moment is the schoolroom of learning, the schoolroom of healing. And there is a beautiful unfolding, opening. Even you could call it an adventure. Because an adventure is something that hasn't been duplicated. It's something that will look different and feel different and not come from the past. And Spirit takes you on that adventure to learn a deeper truth by allowing it to reveal itself. Creation of God is waiting to rest in your mind, to rest in your heart, moment to moment. Imagine that you ask the question, do I want to offer my past to everyone? Or do I want to offer God's love to everyone? Those are the choices that we have. I certainly, it was an easy pick most of the time in the journey of remembering, because to offer the past would be cruel, because I would be offering the past that I knew. And it would be a cruelty to offer that to anyone. And yet, God's light was right there if I could quiet enough to rest in God and allow that divine truth to come as an offering for every beloved. And that quiet place that offers the truth of God isn't a quote. That's too easy. It's too easy to just quote a teaching that you grab and repeat. Imagine just quoting something of a teaching. Someone asks you for some guidance, and all that you think of is God is only love. So you blurt it out. That's right, God is only love. Take it. But what's really being asked for is for the carrier to be your love and to allow the teaching of love to come into manifestation through your heart, through your compassion, through your gentleness. There is a fear that runs that says, I don't like it when things come through me that I'm not in charge of. But at some place in the spiritual journey, there must come a resting in God and allowing the divine to be the voice of love that comes through you. It's natural. It's absolutely natural. Everything else is not natural. The voice of God and you being the instrument of that love is natural. You are completely a child of God that is learning to remember in the quietness to let God lead and speak and move you. And once you allow that voice of love to come through your heart, the idea of filling the space with the past has no appeal anymore, has no payoff at all. Only love is allowed to come through. How many beloveds will be touched by your willingness to rest in God and allow the pearls of love to come through and be offered? It's the schoolroom of love. But don't be afraid of it. You belong in the schoolroom of love. The schoolroom of love was created for you. It belongs to you. And in this moment, in the schoolroom of love, all is harmony and peace. In the schoolroom of love, we accept the life force of God. And we live and move and breathe in that life force of love itself. The sanctuary is filled with love because love is all that exists. This universe is all love. Not the universe that you see in form, but beyond. The spirit life fills the universe as all love. Only love. This hymn called The Power of the Rose. The power of the rose is symbolic of the opening of your heart to truth and to follow the power of God's creation. To realize that it is already what you are, but to follow without contradiction. Contradiction comes from making up your own mind of what you think is needed or wanted or should be or you like, and the power of God, the power of the rose is to follow, to listen, and to have no opinions of how things should unfold, but just thy will be done. The power of the rose is the power of the heart, is the power of our love that comes from our mother. The power of the rose, of the heart of each of us, on the breast of all of us, to love one another. In the heart of each of us, there is one rose to love our beloveds. The power of the rose comes from universal love, is the love and tenderness towards all beloveds. Brothers and sisters, let's open our rose. Let's join our hands. Let's love one another. The love of the rose is the love of brotherhood, is the justice and love, joy and charity, the blissful love that springs from the heart is opening our rose to love all beloved. There's a secret. There's a secret of love that if you fill your pockets with what you know, you can't move toward a beloved with love. You're weighted down with the past. You're weighted down with what you know. And it takes all your attention. It takes all your focus. And you're not available to offer that love, which is the healing of the heart itself, to love all in that divine equality. Leaving it open so that you can truly love and remember the truth of love. On the path of the divine, all divine beings come to open our hearts so that we can remember to be love as we originally were called. On the paths of the truth, everyone is needing to pay attention so that we can all be together as one and praise the heart. Let us all surrender to the heart of the Blessed Mother. This is a moment of humility, of forgiveness, and of charity. Let us all move in the moment of truth toward the truth of all charity. Let us follow the truth, all of us united. Let us sing and dance so the divine will materialize. as we all go on this path of love, living from our faith at the feet of all divine beings. And my Divine Mother, you are my comfort. You bring to me love and faith and health so that we all can enter the truth of the kingdom of love. Nos caminhos do Senhor, Jesus Cristo Redentor, abriu nosso coração para podermos seu amor. Nos caminhos da verdade, a que prestar atenção, para estarmos todos juntos para louvar o coração de Maria, vamos todos entregar. Esta hora e da humildade, do perdão e caridade. Vamos todos nos seguir nesta hora da verdade. Temos o Santo Cruzeiro para afirmar e caridade. Vamos todos nos caminho, Jesus Cristo Salvador. Vivendo de nosso fé aos pés de Cristo Redentor. Ó Virgem Mãe Divina, vós sois o conforto meu. Dai amor, fé, saúde para podermos chegar. Let us follow the truth as we become united. But to follow the truth, the question has to be asked, show me the truth. Am I willing to let the truth come and show itself to me? Or am I too fearful and keep reverting back to the past of what I know? Because I believe it's a place of safety, when in actuality it's a place of pain. It's a place of sadness, a place of despondency, a place of fear. And you know it when you feel it, when the fear has its way and you get nervous, disturbed, and maybe still not making the connection that this fear has been chosen in this moment to deflect and avoid the truth of love. That's all it's for. It's very much the same energy as the drama that so many of us held so dearly in the past. Drama, crises, problems, all of these elements are distractors. They distract from connecting with the divine. And they seem very legitimate. If you're in drama, crises, problems, then it seems like your attention should be to that. And yet, in actuality, no. Don't waste your time dancing with problems, crises, and drama. The ego loves it, for sure, and you can feel the adrenaline of it, and you can feel the fear of it. And it's so familiar that you go, oh yeah, this is right. This is what I'm supposed to be engaged with. But God's whispering, no. Don't get fooled by that again. Don't let these strange old lies have your attention. Come to the truth. Come to peace. Come to listen and hear the voice of love that wants to lead you. Let it connect with your heart and your mind so that you make that choice of love, because it's what you truly want. It's what everyone truly wants. No one would choose crises and problems and drama if it was really clear how painful it is. Very painful. I heard God laughing. But first, manic screaming. We should make all spiritual talk simple today. God is trying to sell you something, but you don't want to buy. That is what your suffering is. Your fantastic haggling, your manic screaming over the price. Manic screaming over the price. It's a beautiful way to see the resistance to choosing love. It's drama to haggle over the price and to believe that there's actually a negotiation with God that would make sense when it really doesn't. God is trying to sell you something. What is God trying to sell you? Peace and harmony, wisdom, eternal life, joy. Joy unbound by anything, because it's what you are. But when you're haggling over the price, it's where your suffering is. Why would anybody haggle over the price of love? Well, the ego is that arrogant, truly, and that fearful at the same time, that bargaining is part of the spiritual journey for some reason. And yet, I do not perceive my own best interests as exactly the response to that haggling. How could I perceive my own best interests if I'm haggling with God and wanting my way, when my way has never given me anything that was worth anything? That's the honesty, the realization that I can't bargain with God because I have nothing to bargain with except my healing. Do I want to bargain my healing to have my way? Yeah, there have been times in the past that certainly was the ego's domain. But Hafiz in this moment is laying it out so that you can see it for what it is. It's like all of those beloveds who were in the gold rush. We've all heard about the gold rush, the California gold rush, where everybody was going for the gold. And how many of them haggled with God? Just give me the gold and I'll be really, next time I'll do everything that you say, but I want the gold now. Why not forget the gold and go for the diamond? Go for the the jewel that is the preciousness that is your return to love. That's all that we're haggling with, is to minimize our ability to accept the gift from God that is our salvation. This is also why when beloveds go to sleep many times there's fear, because they've been haggling all day with God and thinking that they were making really good progress on their negotiations. But the fear comes up at night because there's judgment and a personal me that believes that it can haggle. Manic screaming ensues. I had a question from a beloved that I wrote down. I find I'm still talking a lot. Some of it would be considered small talk. I realize afterwards that I did it again, and then a feeling of self-judgment. But I also feel glad that I'm recognizing it for what it is. Trying to keep safe by wanting others to like me, but it feels like an addiction. Sometimes I'm able to stop myself either before I say something or partway through. It's when I am aware I'm able to do this. I'm aware that forgiveness is really important here, surrendering it, asking for help. Please illuminate this addiction. Well, everybody carries this addiction. It's a pretty universal addiction to having something to say that hasn't been blessed, hasn't been brought by the truth of love. And the ego would say, well, I think this is kind of cruel. I think it's kind of cruel that I can't say what I want when I want to say it and have my own ideas. Not realizing the connection between all the thoughts that are in the mind that are painful thoughts that are coming out of fear to fill a space. Until there is a quietness that can be recognized and really entered into, which is necessary, it's very difficult to make the connection between the thoughts that are just running and speaking and running and speaking and actually the fear that they invoke. But they are fearful. They are absolutely fearful. But the ego has made such a clever cover that it doesn't feel like fear. It feels like, aren't I clever? And because the insanity says, I'll go around the next corner, it'll be different this time. This time my thoughts, my words will be very meaningful. I'm sure of it. I don't need God to interfere with my words. And yet the loneliness is there. The belief of separation is there. And the sense of, I gotta prove myself. I have to somehow prove my worth. And it happens almost with every beloved. that proving. When you're working in a job, you're trying to prove your worth to the others that you work with, and so that they will see your worth. You're speaking to people that you, neighbors and people that you have short connections with, holy encounters possibly, but not really, because they're not held that way. They're held as, I'm filling a space. I'm filling a space with my thoughts and matching their thoughts, and I'm getting better at it. And at the center of it is that through every lifetime, there is a development of words that are socially acceptable. And at some place, there is also this painful place that when you are alone with your thoughts, when you are not in the area of other bodies, that you feel the separation more clearly, and you don't like it. And that reverts back to being a child again. Being a child again and saying, I don't like being without some kind of feedback. So I'm going to go find some beloveds to have feedback with and to fill the space. Now this place is not easily identified because the habit is so orchestrated and refined that it seems just really normal. But I promise that there is this beautiful place of becoming the instrument of God's love that is so exquisite that you won't want to fill the space with your habits. And sometimes even, or maybe not just sometimes, but often, the words are not honest. How many times, nobody can count how many times, but it happens a lot. And certainly I carried it a lot. There's a space and you get uncomfortable because in the past, that would be where the tension was. When words weren't being spoken, you couldn't judge whether others were happy with you or not. So you fill the space to make sure that they're happy with you. This is all there to be healed because none of that was the truth of anyone. But until you are willing to be honest, imagine being honest with a beloved that, let's say someone you work with, and you work in an office or something, and they're over there talking to somebody else. And just the fact that they're talking to somebody else sparks within you, they're not talking to me. I'm without. I don't like that feeling. Maybe they're talking about me. Maybe they're having fun and I'm not part of it. They like each other and they didn't invite me to come into the conversation. And it stirs that place within you that you don't want to feel, that you want to make go away. So how do you make it go away? You go marching over there with some made up purpose to join because it's touched something within you that is disturbing. And this goes on and on and on in all different kinds of situations. The fear on both sides of the coin, the fear of not being included and the fear of not being liked, so having to fill the space. It's a painful place. And when you touch into it, the ego right away says, get out of here. I'm just going to pretend and do what I usually do. I've made thousands of phone calls with that fear. I've connected with beloveds, thousands of times, with a false purpose to connect, instead of being able to say, right now I'm kind of terrified. I'm terrified because I don't feel connected. And I don't know what to do because I don't feel connected, and I'm afraid of that. So anything would do to fill that space. And in that dishonesty, after the fact, was the guilt, was the self-judgment for pretending with someone that I had a reason for making that connection. But the real reason was that I was afraid of the feeling of being alone. I wanted to know that I was liked. I wanted to feel connected, but didn't know any other way except to lie to make that connection. Imagine coming finally to the place of turning to God for the true connection, and that element of truth of God's love was always there. Always there. And it was truly what I was looking for, the friend within. The addiction to anyone else had no love in it. It had no love. It was manipulation. It was trying to win something, trying to get something, but there was no love. Can we be honest? Can we be honest in all the relationships within our journey to examine what is it for? What is it for, and what am I really offering? I can't be offering love if I have a secret purpose of getting something from someone. I can't be offering love. So I can't be aware of love at that moment. But love is what was always calling. And the quietness of not talking allows, this has nothing to do with never speaking, but it's allowing the divine to begin to be recognized, and that you would offer the truth of love through the voice of love. And what happens when you start to offer that voice of love is that you begin to realize that you had nothing to offer. It's what I recognized. I didn't have anything to offer. This was the meat and potatoes. The meat and potatoes was God's love being offered. I was playing a game of trying to win and trying to avoid that place that seemed so uncomfortable of not filling in the spaces. Everybody knows those spaces. It's like being at a cocktail party and wishing you weren't there because it's uncomfortable to have to fill in the spaces all the time. Because the belief is you have to fill in the spaces. And you're being, this is like a test. When you go to a cocktail party, it's like being tested to see how socially correct you can be and how much you can impress others. But everybody knows how painful all of those places are because they're not real. They're made up. They have no truth. Forget every idea of right and wrong any classroom ever taught you. Because an empty heart, a tormented mind, unkindness, jealousy, and fear are always the testimony you have been completely fooled. Turn your back on those who would imprison your wondrous spirit with deceit and lies. Come, join the honest company of the king's beggars. Those gamblers, scoundrels, and divine clowns, and those astonishing fair courtesans who need divine love every day and every night. Come, join the courageous who have no choice but to bet their entire world that indeed, God is real. I will lead you into the circle of the beloved's cunning thieves, those playful royal rogues, the ones you would trust for true guidance, who can aid you in this blessed calamity of life. Look at the perfect one at the circle's center. He spins and whirls like a golden compass beyond all that is rational to show this dear world that everything in existence points to God. A golden compass. Everyone is on the same journey, doing the same learning, the same healing. How fast can it be? How fast can the healing be? It can be as fast as you want it to be. Now, most, even when they say, yeah, I said I want really fast, I want it all. And then it would start speeding up, and then I would go, whoa, wait. That I can't even breathe. I have to breathe. So then love answers every time. You want to slow down a little bit, slow down a little bit, but it's that willingness to go into the silence and feel the squeeze a little bit that says, I don't know this way. I don't know how to listen. But eventually you have to learn to listen, because the light of God is your truth. The love of God is your life. And it's all what this healing is for. It's what the journey is, to remember. So where in all of this element of talking and communicating, whatever it is that you're communicating, how can you communicate the truth of love? It's simple, because there is a quiet place, a truly quiet place that the voice of love settles in and becomes your companion. And it will be always available because you want it. It doesn't mean that the words that come through are outrageously brilliant. They will be probably quiet, gentle words, but they will enter the heart of every beloved. They will become the seeds of healing for every beloved. Just to recognize that you have that power by healing this old belief that says I'm fearful of others and I have to prove my worth all the time. It's letting all the pain go, letting it all go. God's will for you is perfect happiness, but the key is that everybody, beloved, who walks in the world in the belief of the ego doesn't recognize perfect happiness. So there has to be a trust that God's love will bring perfect happiness, will bring joy, and you will discover that you are joy, but not without the honesty to shine the light. I used to always see it as carrying a flashlight and illuminating within. Okay, everything that's in the way, I want it illuminated. I want to see it for what it truly is. Everybody's had this experience where you're saying something, you're doing something, and finally somebody says to you, "Why are you saying that? It doesn't make any sense, or it doesn't have any meaning." And finally you're going, "Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out to me, that what I'm saying, I'm babbling. Show me that I'm babbling. I'm happy to stop." But if you're talking and somebody says something like that to you and you're offended, then it really allows you to see, oh, that's where I am. I'm defending my words. I'm defending what I think I know. And then it goes a little longer because you're not really ready to accept that the words that you're saying on your own have no helpfulness to it. And yet the inspiration is there. It's really there. It's there in everyone. You feel it when you step out of the way and you allow love's inspiration to speak. And it's not even, there's nothing in you that can take it as your own identification. You can't, because you're aware that this was the spirit of love speaking. But you're not disappointed because it's not yours. You're ecstatic because you open to those beautiful, loving words. And they heal you, and they heal everyone that hears them. And it could be one word. It could be one word of rest. Rest in God. Not because you're saying words that just to repeat them, but because You feel it. You feel the resting within you because the Holy Spirit is bringing that to you. And you feel blessed with it. And you're aware of it. Imagine instead of just automatically speaking that you would breathe, just breathe and step back and ask for the beauty of the words of God to come because you want to offer them the way of love. Forget every idea of right and wrong any classroom ever taught you. This is part of the silence, is not having right and wrong and good and bad and light and dark attached to anything, or comparisons, or I have shoes just like that. And what does that mean? It's asking the question, what is it for? Am I serving you by telling you that I have shoes just like yours? Is that actually helpful for you? It may be, but am I asking, is this helpful? This is the healing of the ego. The healing of the ego, that you no longer want to carry the words that mean nothing and that have only caused you pain in the past, that have only caused you to feel separate, because that's all that's being given up, is words that have no real meaning, to open to God's light and love. Why is it that one of the major teachings is, I am here only to be truly helpful? I don't have to worry about what to say or what to do because love will direct me. Right at the beginning, this is the teaching. And usually that teaching is like, oh, that's real nice. Okay, let's go to the next thing. I'm not going to stop at that one. I don't need that. I'm very versed in spiritual language and truths. And I can compare people greatly, and I can tell you what it means. And that's the arrogance of the ego that doesn't want to hear that prayer. I'm here only to be truly helpful. I don't have to worry about what to say or what to do because love will direct me. I'm content to be wherever love calls me to be, knowing that love goes there with me. The power of that prayer can take you all the way to awakening. Because if you're really with it, I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do. So I'm not saying anything of what to say or what to do. I'm asking what would be most helpful. And I'm content to be wherever love calls me to be. So I'm not going to call somebody on the phone and say, hi, what are you doing? Because I feel left out. No, I'm content to be right here with God in this moment. I'm content. And if I can't find the contentment, I will pray for the contentment, to recognize the contentment. It's not about learning that you should always be alone. It isn't that. It's about breaking the trance of the fear of not being seen or heard, but that your communion is within first. first. The communion is within with God. And that's what you bring to every situation, every circumstance. Will the love of God's offering be received? Yes. Always. Even if it's just a seed that's planted. Even if it has no words and you're just called to hold someone's hand or touch someone's arm or look at them with love. Because your eyes say, "You are my beloved." And your heart is there. No comparisons, no judgments, to be still. Still. Let this be a day of stillness and quiet listening. In stillness, let us hear God's direction without the petty thoughts, personal desires, or judgments. Everywhere in all teachings of love and the return to love, it's the quiet. It's always calling everyone into quiet. It does not mean isolation. It means allowing God's voice to come through, untethered by the ego's voice that always wants to speak first and loudest and always knows. The knowing that the ego brings has no value at all, none at all. To everyone I offer quietness. To everyone I offer peace of mind. To everyone I offer gentleness. So if that is the prayer, what happens to the fear that's running within? If you're offering, you want to offer quietness, you want to offer gentleness, then the fear can be surrendered into the hands of God, and surrendered and forgiven. That fear that I carry, that old belief that I'm not wanted or loved or that I'm on my own, those are the lies of the past that have no truth, no value, no purpose. But to truly embrace that is like letting go of an addiction. Imagine that God says to you, don't pick up that phone. That's what was said to me. Don't pick up that phone. Ask, what are you wanting from making that phone call? What are you wanting from knocking on that door? What are you wanting? What do you believe is missing? Because when you believe that something is missing and that you are unloved, you can't offer love. All that you can do is try to get from someone, try to fill the space. And then you end up feeling more separate and fearful again because you weren't honest. You weren't honest with your own awareness. It is an addiction. It's an addiction. The phone is an addiction when it's unconsciously used to fill the space. Then you say, oh, well, what's the big deal? Well, what the big deal is that you want to heal. And the big deal is that you are not offering love to the beloved that you're calling. You're offering your fear. It would be actually very helpful to be able to actually say, I'm calling you because I'm too afraid to not call you. I want company. I don't want to be alone. I'm afraid of being alone. That would be healing. And all that's being asked is that you say it in truth to yourself, to be honest with yourself of what is it for, in quiet stillness. Breathe consciously and open your heart and ask if there is anything to offer. And the same is true of phone calls that you get. Are you called to answer it? Or do you run for the phone because it might be somebody that will take away the feeling of being alone? That feeling of being alone is insidious because it isn't about anything except a subtlety that you have a sense within that you've always carried that says, I am without. I am in scarcity of love. And the ego uses that to have you fill the space so that you forget about God. Sometimes it's the feeling that finally says, oh, that's it. I feel separate. I feel separate, and I've always felt separate. And now I'm recognizing it. And no one, no situation, no other is going to fill that, because what I'm really longing for is to come home to God in truth. God is my life. God is my love. God is my light. And I cannot be whole without the truth of God recognized within. But how can I recognize the truth of God within when everything I'm doing is out in the world? Come home to God. Come home to love. And in this, only be quiet. You will need no rule but this: to let your practicing today lift you above the thinking of the world and free your vision from the body's eyes. Only be still and listen. How exquisite it is that all the teachings take us exactly where we need to go if we will listen and accept and be honest. Honesty will eliminate the fear. Be still and lay aside all thoughts of what you are and what God is, and come empty unto God. Thank God there's a way home. And it's so simple. Everything you thought you knew, every habit, every part of the identity given to God and forgiven. I'm here only to be truly helpful. I don't have to worry about what to say or what to do because God will direct me. And I'm content to be wherever love calls me to be, moment to moment.